Hi, guys. This is Jill Riley. I just wanted to let you know we have a great interview this week with Pastor Phil Moore from Spokane. We did have a few technical issues, but please stick with us because it was a really important and good interview. So here you go. Hi, Pacific Northwest family. This is Jill Riley with Pastor Phil Moore from The Garden in Spokane, Washington. How are you?
Hey, so good. Thanks for your time, Jill.
Yeah, it's awesome to catch up with you and to hear what's going on. And you were just kind of sharing some excitement that's been going on in your church. I'm just excited that God is moving in Spokane in the West Central neighborhood. What is considered the West Central neighborhood
hmm
of Spokane?
so it's this historic neighborhood. At one point, I'm not sure if it is anymore, but it was the lowest income zip code in Washington. I think that's changed. Bunch of cool
Interesting.
history here.
So you're a
hmm
church plant. How long have you been there?
Yeah, so we've been in the West Central neighborhood since about July 2021.
Way to plant a church coming off of COVID, Phil.
Thank you. Yeah, kind of crazy. But in a way, it worked out. We had to pray a lot and kind of huddle up together as a group. We are actually planted out of another covenant church, Emmanuel. It's been around for a while, and I got to be part of Emmanuel when it was a church plant, and so I knew how a little bit how crazy but also exciting church plants can be.
Yeah.
So around COVID is when Rob and others in the covenant were kind of giving me the nudge. We can do this. We can do this. And so, yeah, we started July 2021 with a soft launch.
So I was
Okay.
noticing on your website you have a neighbor hub. So what is a neighbor hub?
A neighbor hub. Yeah. As I joined Emmanuel staff, the church I mentioned a moment ago, I started as a pastoral resident. So the dream from Pastor Rob was, hey, let's embed you kind of in the West Central neighborhood where my wife Nina and I had moved into, got a house in 2019. And he said, I want you to think about a nonprofit that you can support as a part of your efforts to get to know the neighborhood better. So I chose this organization called Side by Side, and it's a ministry for people with and without disabilities doing life together. It's a really cool model that's based off of a group in Durham, North Carolina. The vision is that there are not really any hierarchies between people with abilities and people without. So I'm coming in to Side by Side to volunteer, but I'm really finding so much life and so much giving coming my direction from people of all different kinds of abilities. So we joined this group. I had some mutual friends there, and that was about a year before we started the garden. And so it's kind of fun, these two grassroots kind of Jesus centered organizations starting around the similar time in the same neighborhood. Side by Side would go on to bounce around to a couple different churches that would house them, and then this Presbyterian building opened up. The Presbyterian network reached out to us at the garden. They said, "Hey, we know your covenant. We're wanting to be ecumenical here and consider letting you be a tenant of the building. And would you consider sharing it with your friends Side by Side?" If I didn't mention it already, the garden and Side by Side have so much overlap already. We have people with disabilities in our church that are such a key part of what we do and what God's doing there. So it just felt like the right move to step in that direction. And I got to give a shout out to Emmanuel too, and the good reputation that the covenant has in the Northwest and all across the land, because it's a risk for a different denomination to take a risk on a group like the Garden, this newer church, due to the good reputation we've that's gone a long way for us too. So yeah, it's this old kind of quirky mid-century building that's going to need a lot of TLC, but we're working with a general contractor and then a lot of volunteers in the church and elsewhere to make it a little bit more beautiful.
Wonderful. I have a weird question for you that just popped into my brain. If you
Yeah, hit me.
could describe one person in the church without names,
Mm,
but one person in the church that kind of personifies the ethos of
mm.
the church, who would that be?
That's a great question. I think of it more in terms, and maybe this is the millennial in me, like, don't put me in a box, I'm a millennial. But I feel like I think of it in terms of a few different groups of people. We have people from my generation, many of whom have kind of deconstructed maybe through COVID when that was occurring a lot, people reimagining, rethinking, or even leaving the faith. And so we have quite a few people in my generation, many of whom went to Whitworth or Gonzaga, schools around here, who are rethinking their faith, but they're kind of coming back and super intrigued about Jesus, finding a home there. We have also people who belong to like kind of the lower income historical part of the neighborhood who add so much vibrancy and this beautiful, simple faith that's super inspiring to all different kinds of people. Then we have people with disabilities too, and just a mix of all different kinds of people. I will say, we are also recruiting people with gray hair to the garden. It's so funny because I get how in church plants, it's usually younger crowd in a church plant. But it's funny, Jill, because I play it really cool when I recruit people in my generation. Yeah, if it works with we'd love to have you, but like playing it really cool. People with gray hair, I am shameless. I'm like, do you have a church? Okay, you don't come to our, we need you. And I actually say that totally joking, but also I want to say I have heard from some people with gray hair, more seasoned followers of Jesus, that they don't need me at church. Young people, I don't. And there was actually a Barna research that indicated that post COVID, it was actually the boomer generation that returned the least.
Interesting.
Super interesting. Yeah, kind of surprised. And so I'm kind of shameless saying, hey, we need you. If you if you've seen a thing or two, if you're seasoned, we want you in our community.
All
So
right. So,
that's my
conference
prayer.
family, you hear that shout out. If you know people
Yeah.
in the Spokane Valley area, Phil is saying you need people of my generation and
Yes.
above to
Come
be there. And I
on.
do have gray hair.
Your
I've got like
generation.
12 of them right now. So, I count. Well, Phil, give me just a snapshot of how we can pray
Mm.
with you through this
Oh,
next
thank you.
season.
Thank you so much, Jill. Maybe I'll tell you a little story. I am kind of an early church history nerd, Jill. I'm a big fan of this guy, Saint Benedict. Many people will know Saint Benedict. When Paul says, I think it's in First Thessalonians, pray without ceasing. Saint Benedict of Nursia, who is he's the founder of the Benedictine order, obviously, and he's also just this father of Western monasticism. Anyway, he talks about this. The monks had this phrase, ora et labora, prayer and work. Their whole lives were scheduled, so they had ora, prayer, and work. And I really saw this come to life in a really cool way one Sunday. I'm going to land the plane. One Sunday, Jill, this guy shows up named Mike. He has a colorful history on the streets, and he's coming in, and we have this sharing time that we do kind of in the middle of our service, pass the mic around. What's God doing in your life? It can be a high, it can be a low. So this guy Mike jumps on the microphone and starts talking about some tough stuff that he's going through. And one of the things he mentions, he's like, I got bit by a spider last week. And man, the bite is flared up. He's just being honest. He's saying, hey, I got bit by a spider. I don't know what to do. I said, okay, who wants to pray for Mike? Who would like to pray for Mike? And somebody put a hand on Mike and prayed for him. And as soon as the prayer was over, I saw at the corner of my eye this gal, Amy, gets up and leaves, and I don't know where she's going. She comes back 20 minutes later, having gone to Rite Aid to get some over-the-counter stuff, some vitamins, and comes back and is like, here you go, Mike, take the, she's just like, that to me was a beautiful image of like prayer and work, or prayer and action. We want more and more of that at the garden. We are just like, let's pray harder and pray more, but also let's do action together, that prayer and action combo. So we saw that one Sunday. Mike came back and has been coming here and there, and he's doing really well. And more of that at the garden, and I think for all of our churches would be so good for God's
Absolutely.
kingdom.
Well, we will pray that with you and for you. Thanks so much for sharing your story. I really appreciated hearing just a little snippet of what's going on there.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the opportunity, Jill. Such a good time.